Is real estate still a wealth builder? Fortune.com says no, it's not. We're going to take a look at the specifics of their article, and then I'm going to give you my opinion on this here as well. My name's Travis Anderson. I sell homes here in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. Let's talk about this Fortune article. Here are the highlights from the article. Home prices across most of the country are no longer keeping up with inflation. That's kind of the big takeaway from the article, that inflation may be outpacing home appreciation. In real terms, it just means that housing is losing value compared to other costs. The article references, of course, the pandemic years and how we saw massive appreciation during that time, or an explosion is maybe the word that they used. So Fortune is asking, if housing isn't outpacing inflation, is it still a wealth building tool? And of course, they say no. Look, I think it's important not to zoom in too tightly on short periods of time when we're talking about real estate. The article references the pandemic years, which is just a couple of years. If you were to zoom out from that, home prices do appreciate on average 4% year over year over the last 40 or 50 years. Real estate is not and should not be a small term investment for the vast majority of us, unless we're buying a home that is in substantial repair and we're doing a flip or something like that. Real estate wealth is going to be built over time. Think of it this way. If you bought a home 20 or 30 years ago, chances are that you're sitting on a lot of equity, especially if you didn't refinance a bunch of time. Short-term corrections, like high peaks and valleys in any market over the course of 2 or 3 years, really doesn't affect you if you're owning a home for 20 or 30 years. And this is something that the article does touch on, but when you make a broad claim and the title says it's no longer a wealth building tool, I think that that's just patently false. And here's something else that the article doesn't touch on. Whether you're a renter or a buyer, you're still paying equity towards someone's wealth. You're either paying your landlord's equity or you're paying your equity. And so although real estate may not be appreciating, and let's assume for a second that it doesn't appreciate at all for the next 10 or 15 years, let's assume that it's just a flat line. And if you are a renter, you'd be paying someone else's equity in their home and they would be building wealth. And if you're an owner, you'd be paying your own mortgage and building your own equity over the next 10 to 20. And the thing I think the article misses most is, sure, if you're an investor, are you going to go ahead and just dive headfirst into the real estate market today? The answer is maybe not. There's still opportunity there, I think, but the answer is maybe not. But if you're a consumer of real estate and you're either a renter or a buyer, the question is, who are you going to be building wealth for? Is it going to be for yourself or your landlord? I think the article misses that completely. What Fortune points out here in the article, and their biggest claim, is that inflation on other items is outpacing housing. And that's probably true. I think it's probably segmented. Some areas that we're seeing inflation come down now that we're this far into the year. We'll see where that paces out into the future. But the big takeaway for me is that when we narrow in on a market, even when we're narrowing in on inflation over a quarter or even over a 12-month period, that just doesn't take into the long-term effect of owning real estate. And so my advice for my clients, of course, always is that real estate is a long-term investment and we should be building wealth for ourselves and our families long-term. I did link the article in the description if you want to read it in full. You might have to subscribe to Fortune. My name's Travis Anderson, work with buyers and sellers here in Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. If you have any questions, do me a favor, give me a call, shoot me a text, hit me up in the comments section. And as always, all my best to you and yours.